Welcome to the Peace Pentagon Hub vlog. The Peace Pentagon is a conference and training center for progressive programs and sacred activism located in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. Our Hub vlogs feature thought leaders and futurists in each sector of society, where every day synergistic solutions are emerging to help us build a new world.
Hi, my name is Laura George, and welcome to another edition of the Peace Pentagon vlog. Today, we're exploring two sectors, the economics and business and the peace building and relations sectors. And with me is Cheri Honkala. She's the co-founder of the Poor People's Economic Human Rights Campaign. And for the past 25 years, she has dedicated her life to creating a movement led by the poor. Today, she is nationally and internationally recognized as an anti-poverty and human rights activist. And in 2012, Cheri was the Green Party candidate for Vice President of the United States. Cheri also co-founded these groups, Women, Work and Welfare, and Up and Out of Poverty Now. She's organized many protests and marches, and she's established numerous tent cities. During the course of her career, Cheri has bravely resisted unethical laws, which has meant she's been arrested more than 200 times for civil disobedience violations. To learn more about Cheri's work, you can visit her primary website, which is economichumanrights.org. And welcome, Cheri.
Hi, happy to be here.
Very happy to be with you. I'd like to start this interview by letting our listeners know that you're going to be coming to Oracle campus. You're going to be coming. So excited about that. You're going to be our lead facilitator for our annual women's retreat, which is June 21st weekend. And this year, the theme is Woman Warrior. And I can't think of anyone better to lead that particular theme because you so well, to me, represent the Athena archetype. Please tell us just a bit about what you're going to be providing us at the Women's Retreat.
Well, I'm hoping that, first of all, we can get really focused there in your beautiful facility, and we can really delve in and talk about what it takes to kind of conjure up the kind of courage that we need in order to go forward during these very difficult times. So we're going to be focusing a lot on how to tap into that courage and how to not have our lives be dominated by fear.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now I want to talk about your life's work, which has been primarily anti-poverty campaigns. And what I find unique about your work is your approach, which is about empowering the poor rather than trying to, quote, lead them. Please tell us just a bit about how you've been able to unify the poor across racial, religious, political lines, and thereby effectively assist them in reaching their own stated goals, such as affordable housing, healthcare, childcare, and a living wage.
I think what I've been able to do is to really take from movements throughout history. I think that whenever we have people that are most impacted by an issue that are in the forefront of that struggle, we're really able to move forward. And so whether it's, women leading the women's movement, the fight for civil rights being led by African Americans, whether it's, a poor people's movement being led by people that are actually poor themselves, I think that this is not just the morally correct kind of strategy, but I think it's an effective strategy, and history has shown us that.
That's really good advice for those of us who really do want to become more active in assisting with campaigns. You and I met at a Peace Congress last year in Washington, D.C. It was the 100th anniversary of Armistice Day, which then became known as Veterans Day, but we were celebrating its original meaning, which was the end of World War I. And the event came about because President Trump wanted to have a military parade, and over 200 peace groups coalesced and assisted in stopping that crazy idea. So you were one of the keynote speakers. And I was very attracted to you because of your big heart, because of how you approach activism and advocacy. I'd like to hear what you think peace groups should be focusing on in 2020.
I think because the forces that we're up against in these, next 3-4 years, and because of what's happening to the planet, I think it's really important that we really focus on getting organized. There's a famous quote, I can't think of it right now, that Malcolm X talks about the importance of us getting organized. Mm-hmm. I've had the privilege of traveling across this entire country, across the world. And when you look at different social movements, it really makes me concerned when I look at the lack of organization amongst the peace movement and the actual lack of numbers. So I think that we have to get very disciplined. None of us declared this war that's taking place on a domestic or international level, but we need to be organized enough to take that fight on. So I would just suggest it goes back to basic organizing. And organizing with our eyes wide open. I think that the peace movement needs to get more sophisticated in not just, uniting with anybody that's got some great rhetoric, but really beginning to ask the question of where does your money come from and following those war dollars.
I agree with you. And that was one of the main aims of the Peace Congress last year, was to start building the movement by becoming better organized. And that is one of the goals of the Peace Pentagon Hub, which is our online platform. I want to talk next about what you were just involved with. Code Pink and a group of peace groups took over and held, with permission, the Venezuelan embassy after the Trump administration signaled that it might topple the Maduro government. Some of our mutual friends were arrested, Margaret Flowers and Kevin Z's of Popular Resistance. I'd like you to tell our listeners, most of whom have probably never protested before, what it feels like to be engaged in sacred activism, to resist the police, to stare down corruption and crazy warmongering, such as that which is being promoted right now by National Security Advisor John Bolton. What is it like to actually put yourself on the line in that way?
Well, for people that come from my ranks, it's sadly enough, it's a daily practice. If there's one thing that I'm experienced in, is having to deal with different elements of the state, local law enforcement, you name it. So it's just, doing actions like going to the Venezuelan embassy recently and, trying to get both food and water and do a humanitarian effort to try and deliver, food and water to the embassy protectors. I'm no different than anybody else. I am afraid. I'm a mother. I have responsibilities to a movement and an organization. And it's also, I just feel incredibly blessed because I'm able to be around some of the most brave, courageous people that are willing to step forward. So I would just have to say, it's a beautiful feeling being around people that are so awake and who are so committed to creating a better kind of world.
Well, I thank you for all your courage and compassion. I really do. Last question. I'm going to return to the theme of Woman Warrior and the upcoming retreat at Oracle Campus. So we've had some recent setbacks in women's rights. The Alabama abortion ban is the most current example of a trend toward limiting even our bodily sovereignty. I personally am loving the red cloaks, the protesters who are wearing them. I'm finding it very highly effective. It's a reference to The Handmaid's Tale, Not to mention the joke about Sarah Huckabee Sanders looking like Aunt Lydia. Tell me what you think women should be doing to protect Roe versus Wade.
Well, I just always have to throw a special plea out whenever we talk about a woman's right to choose to the broader women's movement around the economics of choice. I think that we have to remember, even though on the books we have Roe versus Wade, poor women like here in Philadelphia and across the country who are not able to have access to health care end up in homeless shelters only because for poor women, legal, accessible, safe abortions still don't really exist, not just in Alabama, but across the entire country. And so I would just preface my comments by saying that we have to remember our poor sisters across the country that still don't have the economics of choice. And I think that there's, larger numbers of poor women. And if we can really figure out how to link with those sisters across the country, we're going to have a better time at holding on to all of women's rights. And so take a look around the marches and the demonstrations that you're in around fighting for Roe versus Wade. Make sure that you see women of color and poor women that are standing alongside you. Chances are you're not on the right page if you just see a bunch of white women that are out there in the crowd. You're not really speaking to other issues that pertain to poor women across America.
Yeah, or understanding the impact economics has on every decision. Yeah, I am a big supporter of Planned Parenthood, which hopefully does make its way into the poor arenas. Cheri, I want to thank you so much for doing this brief interview. I also want to thank you for coming to the Oracle campus next month. We are so excited. So if you want to meet Cheri in person and you want to spend a weekend in a sisterly, soulful environment at our campus, it's in the Blue Ridge Mountains along the New River, and please join us. And Cheri, is there anything you'd like to say before we close?
I'm just excited to meeting everybody and excited to hang out with folks in the mountains, and I'll see you all there.
All righty. All right, we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this week's vlog. To learn more about the Peace Pentagon Hub, visit peacepentagon.net. And if you're interested in living with other cultural creatives, check out the Valley of Light micro-community at the Oracle campus in Independence, Virginia. To learn more about the Valley of Light, visit our other website, theoracleinstitute.org.